Hey, what's up, YouTube? Just thought I would record a really quick video here talking about the errata that came out this morning. Now, everybody is talking about the errata that came out this morning, and for us Alchemist players, the main topic of discussion was obviously Midas. So I wanted to give my thoughts here on what I think about the Midas changes, not just initial impressions, but I've also managed to get in a few games today, which was pretty awesome. I actually planned to take some time off today specifically to do that. So for those of you who aren't aware, there was an errata that came out this morning, and for part of that errata was quite a few player changes, and we're going to go over the Midas changes right now. So if you are looking at the new Midas card, the stat line stayed the same. The one of the main changes there was that column 2, and I think it's the only change to the playbook itself, was column 2, instead of there being a separate push and a separate dodge on the column 2, both momentous. Instead, it's now a momentous push dodge, which is nice. So you don't have to set up just to get your repositioning, which was one of Midas's main abilities. Now, if you look down at the character plays, another main thing here is the change to Lure of Gold. It's now a 2-cost play or buyable off the playbook on that momentous third column, and 6-inch range. So you do pay a little bit more if you're hard buying it, but now it's a 6-inch range, way more versatile. And then the big thing, not once per turn. That's a huge change, and that's going to be really nice for Midas. The other thing that I'll point out before we go to the back of the card is that the change to Midnight Offering, which was a global change that affected the players that had Midnight Offering, now changed that into a legendary play. So what that means for Midas is he really becomes the only he's unique in the game for this sort of out of activation movement, in that he can now do it multiple times per turn, and it's not Midnight Offering, which has moved to a legendary. So they can only do it once per game. He can do it multiple times per turn, which is a really nice little touch there for Midas. Moving to the back of the card, you can see the change to Fulmination. This is also fantastic. This is a remove a condition within 4, and now you get to add a dodge playbook result to everything. So it's similar to what it was before, except you don't need to. We'll see here. You're removing a condition to do it. You're not like hoping that the target you're going into has that condition. This is actually quite nice. So now you can pull it off a friendly to get it. You don't have to actually set up your target. You can have it nearby. And I practice a lot of this playstyle with Midas anyway, so this is a great change to Fulmination. Also, Midas Touch. Now here's where these things start to get really nice. Midas Touch. When this model makes a successful attack, the target enemy model suffers burning and poison conditions. So this is actually even better than what Crucible has. So, the joke was, well, Crucible has Midas Touch all the time because it used to work off of damage. But now Midas can trigger it off any playbook result. That means you can get your momentous push dodge on 2, which is really what you want to be doing with him 90% of the time. And you get to apply both conditions, which is sweet. Combine that with the third column now not being just completely dead in the water off of a terrible Lure of Gold. That means you can now momentous Lure of Gold a model 6 inches away, and you can apply both conditions. And if you had Fulmination up, you can also dodge. Really, really nice. And with your that momentous 2 column becomes a momentous push double dodge, which is also fantastic. The rest of the card doesn't change. Now, like I said, I got to play a few games with this today, and right off the bat, I would say, when I first looked at these changes, I was a little underwhelmed. I'm like, those are all really good changes, but I don't feel like Midas ultimately is a captain in his own right. I didn't feel like, completely blown away by this stuff. I recognize that they're solid changes, but I wanted one tiny little more tweak. I got a little greedy. I wanted one more thing. And if you want my opinion, what the thing that I wanted is I wanted showboating back. I thought that really, especially with Midas's character, showboating would have just really been gravy on top of these really good changes. So, does it make Midas a viable option over Smoke? In certain matchups. And that's where my disappointment lies. It's not, Steamforge talks about their ideal state is where your choice of model, player, captain is completely a preferential one. And in this case, I feel like Smoke is the better default captain, but I don't want to. I also don't want to say that Midas is not playable because he's quite playable now. It's just that objectively, I feel like Smoke is going to be most people's default choice, and then they look at Midas for matchups where Smoke isn't going to do well. Specifically, I'm thinking farmers and not butchers, farmers and brewers, and sometimes butchers, but farmers, brewers, and probably the mirror are what most people think. Now, the other thing, though, is because Midas is better, I would say, though, that he is actually a viable captain and you can play him. I was kind of scraping by in the earlier part of this season, just trying to make him work. But now that he's got a little bit of a boost here, I do feel that you can actually play Midas as more of an everyday captain if you choose to go down that path, if you choose to really kind of learn his approach to the game. And I think it's worthwhile, and I think it's super fun. Like I said, I played a few games today. I did do a double lure on turn one when I was kicking into fish, and that was absolutely brutal. Because I kicked with Crucible, and while my opponent is used to trying to stop that goal run off of Crucible, I was able to keep enough pressure off him to actually keep him off my goal and just set myself up for early goals the next turn. So that was really nice. And then in the other games, he played really aggressive with fish and decided to come into my line really quick because he kicked off to me. And that was interesting too. So 4 influence on Midas is it's a pretty safe bet because, if the opponent plays a standoff, you have a good option. You can get 2 players into the action. If the opponent goes into your face, well, this is what's different about Midas now is that you can actually put that 4 influence to use, right? You can get into that opponent, you can start to move them around. You can now get a little better economy off your lore. You can get yourself some crowd outs as well. And this actually is pretty damn sweet for a takeout game. And so I'm really interested in playing a more 2-2 style with Midas. And I'm going to just experiment with more. You guys are going to be hopefully here on the journey with me on this channel. And I've got one of my games are rendering right now. It's Fisherman versus Alchemist, so it's Shark versus Midas. It's very similar. This is with Sean, aka Blade Wolf, who's learning his fish. But you get to see a little bit of a little glimpse into how Midas is better, and I'm excited. I mean, this has opened up a little bit more of that playstyle to me. Specifically, I feel like the 2-2 game opens up a little bit more now that Midas can be a little self-sufficient. I don't need the third striker. And that opens up a little more room for brawling. So I'm excited. So with that, I am going to end this video here. Want to thank everyone for watching. Have a good one, guys, and we'll catch you on the next one.